Hi, I'm Will Howard, and I'm in the historic Avalon Theater in downtown Easton, Maryland. The Avalon Theater opened in 1922. About the same time, across the United States, silent movie houses started opening up. Most of them are gone, and we're very, very blessed to have the Avalon Theater still here. We'd like to run a program on the history of the Avalon Theater, but the history is way too long, so we're going to break it up into 3 segments. This first segment, Pete Lesher and I are going to do together. He is Talbot County's premier historian, and I've got a lot of personal recollections about this theater. We wanted to start with 1922. Our problem was we don't have any pictures from 1922. So Pete suggested the best idea was to run a story in the paper asking if anybody knew about the opening of the Avalon Theater back in the early 20s. And we got one response. We got a response from Shirley Morton Miller.
Right.
And she brought along her brother, Richard. Now, tell us about the Avalon Theater and when you first came here.
Well, I guess I probably started coming in 1925 or so. My grandmother came 3 times a week, and I came with her. So.
And describe the theater from the inside.
Well, it was twice as big. It went from the columns back to Harrison Street. There were two entrances back there. And the balcony looks pretty much the same. But there was a canopy out front. And I think the box office was out front for a while. Then they brought it inside. Hill's Drugstore was next door.
Hill's Drugstore is where the restaurant is now.
Right. And it was open, connected. So you bought your candy and popcorn there instead of in the theater. And
were there ushers? Were they dressed in neat outfits?
Maybe one. Weren't you an usher or something?
Yeah, but not till the 40s.
But the seats there were 3 sections. A wider one in the middle and a section on each side with an aisle. And an aisle through the middle where the columns are. And there were, I guess, wooden seats first, and then upholstered seats.
When was that?
I don't know.
There was a restoration in 30.
That's when Shine bought the theater.
Okay, Shine bought it in 1937, I think.
37.
Something like that, yeah.
I may have left town by then, but before I came all the time. And do you want to know people that worked here?
Sure.
And Mr. Plummer was the manager, I guess. But he'd stand by the box office with his hands behind his back, rocking back and forth. I think he wore a tailcoat and a little bow tie. And Evelyn Prettyman Dietrich sold tickets forever.
How much? How much were the tickets?
10 cents for kids and 25 cents for adults. And
did they have a package where they sold 11 tickets for $1?
not that I know of. But in the bathrooms, there was one right inside the door that goes downstairs now, and one upstairs, where there was a big parlor up there, and a ballroom.
Correct.
On the 2nd floor.
And an orchestra gallery.
Well, I had my first dancing lesson up there.
You learned to dance here.
Learned to dance up there.
And that's because there was music here.
It seems to me there was just a piano player or something. But I was 6, I think.
There was
6 years old.
We actually, when we bought it, there was an orchestra gallery on the 2nd floor, above the dance hall.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think I was 6 or something like that when we had dancing lessons up there.
Well, the sorts of things that you were coming to the theater to see, these were the silent films
Silent.
of the era?
When did they switch? 28 or 29 or to
Even
talking?
later. Even later.
Was it later? Because they were silent movies. We came every Friday night to see the serials with Buck Jones and
Tom Mix.
Tom Mix.
Oh, man. Yeah.
And I think the first talking movie here was with Gloria Swanson. Can't remember the name of the movie. But the music that was in it is a classic today. But I don't know the name of that either. But we had a lot of fun here.
You have a remarkable memory. I bring up the story about the 11 tickets for $1 because I was told by someone 20 years ago, and I can't remember who it was, that Jim Rouse, who was born and raised in Easton, and with a banker, and I can't remember his name either, were kids. And they stood just out of sight of Mr. Plummer. And they bought one set of 11, and they would sell them for 10 cents apiece. So they'd end up with a 10% profit.
Maybe
So
they did.
he was a good businessman in those days.
Yeah, he had Bill Rouse was his brother. Was that an old
I
program?
found a program that they mailed out. This was back in 1934, and it looks like they had a whole series of films, one film a night. Well, one feature a night.
There were three a week, and it maybe run 2 nights. But my grandmother came 3 nights a week. It was a different movie. But the Easton got talking pictures about the last of any of the towns around. Because we'd go to Federalsburg to the movie. Even had to see my Tarzan movie in St. Michael's. They had it first. Lightning Strike, Double Door. Charlie Chan, oh, they were good Charlie Chan ones.
Now, Dick, you asked me a question yesterday about an organ that was up there.
Yeah.
The organ was here, but the pipes were there.
Right.
Tell us more about that.
Well, I couldn't play the organ. There was a usher here, Ernest Colburn. He couldn't read music, but he could play it wonderfully well. And but they didn't use the organ at all. But it was a nice pipe organ, and it's a shame they took it out.
Yeah. The piano was here.
And the piano was here too.
With Mrs. Cox.
Of course, that was for silent movies, piano.
That piano was still here when we bought it.
Yeah.
Mrs. Cox played away. She lived across the street.
My father used to tell me about John Charles Thomas would sing from
Yeah.
here. And he would go behind the piano in the green room, and he would practice singing, and he eventually moved here.
Oh, I know.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
He used to play golf at the country club and sing and drink. You could hear him all over the golf course.
Well, you mentioned a Mrs. Cox. They'd been in the movie business before the Avalon Theater showed up here.
Well, they had an orchestra.
They had a band. Yeah.
Everybody in the family played an instrument except
Right.
one. Mrs. Cox. Claire played the piano. Her husband played the trombone. Uncle Joe played the banjo. And Bill played the trumpet and saxophone, I think. He said they lived right across the street from me, so I could hear them all the time. But their pictures of their orchestras are in some of these Talbot County books
Yes.
that have been done. But they played way over there.
They were, but she was part of the act when you were running a silent film.
She
There was no sound of the film, so she filled in with the
just
piano.
played the piano,
Yeah.
Was the theater packed?
of course.
Every night? Every
That I
night?
don't remember. Probably
What
was.
days did you come?
Don't remember that either. Just whenever Nanny came, I came. Friday night, the kids came for the cereals.
We're going to take a break, and we'll be right back.
The 19th annual Chesapeake Home Garden and Craft Expo will be held at the Talbot County Community Center in Easton, Saturday, April 5th and Sunday, April 6th. The Expo has the latest in home products, art, and ideas for decorating your home. Sample gourmet food while you stroll through the show. There'll be quality crafts in a variety of media and wine tasting venue. A great time for the entire family. Admission is $6 per carload or $4 per person. The 2014 Chesapeake Home Garden and Craft Expo is Saturday from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. and Sunday from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. at the Talbot County Community Center in Easton. For details about the Expo, look in the Star Democrat or go to ChesapeakeHomeExpo.com.
Now, Richard, you were an usher here in 1944?
1941.
41, oh, good.
Yeah.
Tell us about it.
Well, I was hired for the new Easton Theater, which was on Washington Street. And I worked there for a week, then they moved me down to the Avalon.
So Shine owned them both.
Oh, yeah, Shine, yeah.
The Easton Theater is where Thompson Park is now?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. And the downstairs was for whites and the upstairs was for blacks.
That's for here or there?
There.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, there. Which is pretty advanced for the time. I liked the Avalon much better than the Easton Theater. And I started upstairs usher, probably upstairs for a couple of months, then they moved me downstairs. Of course, you get 50 cents more a week.
Oh.
And which was rather enjoyable, really. But then they moved me out to ticket chopper, take the tickets. And Mrs.
How much were the tickets then?
Well, they had student tickets. They were 33 and 44 cents. 33 upstairs, 44 down. I don't know what the adult tickets were. I don't remember. But the Mondays were mostly full houses because the first run, the good movies were run on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. And then Thursday and sometimes Friday they were not quite as good. And then Saturday, which you had a matinee on Saturdays, they were westerns generally because they were good sellers. Kids movies.
They were kids' movies, right?
Kids movies. And but it was nice work when you're 16 or 17 years old. It was nice work being an usher.
And you had a nice uniform?
Pardon?
You had a nice uniform?
Oh yes, oh yeah. Nice,
Buttons down?
A nice, the short uniform, informal, formal, with a cardboard dickie with a bow tie on it. Summer, winter, no, that's right. The summer uniforms were white jacket, blue pants. And the winter were sort of a brownish jacket. Very, very spiffy looking.
Now, were the men wearing boaters at that point in time, or was that after boaters?
After what?
But boater hats, I'm talking about.
Hats were starting to phase out, thank goodness.
Did you ever have to throw anybody out?
I had to send a couple of people to your father. And he would throw them out.
He would throw them out.
Yeah.
My father was the manager.
He was the manager, yeah. And he was a pretty good boss.
Good.
And the ushers were underpaid, so I only worked here about a month or so when it said, right, it's time for a raise. So I went up to him, asked for a raise, and he gave us a raise, gave us all a raise.
That's great.
Which brought us up to where you go out after the shows and get your French fries and hamburgers.
I also heard that there was some midnight showing of movies too.
I didn't see him if there was.
Right. No, he
Maybe
told
that
me
was your father's own show.
Yeah, he would bring his personal friends in and they'd show him.
He never invited me.
He did. He probably would have gotten fired.
Yeah, Shine was never met him, but they owned quite a few theaters.
They did.
Yeah. and they own one in Federalsburg, I think, and Hurlock also, and St. Michael's.
How many years did you work here? What year did you quit?
I think I worked about a year and a half. I quit to go to work at Glen L. Martin, which I didn't like. Well, I never even showed up.
I didn't know you worked there.
City life was not my bag.
So you weren't here from the big celebration that we've heard about, and maybe, did you move away, Shirley, or?
Yeah, I moved to Baltimore.
Oh, you did, okay. At the end of the war, at the end of the European War, it was VE Day, there was a gigantic celebration out in front of the Avalon Theater, and the same thing happened in VJ Day, I'm told.
I don't know about here, but there was in Baltimore too.
So what's your favorite story about something that happened here?
I can't think of anything special. We were here so often, and you know, sat in different sections. You know, teenagers sat here, and the older ones sat there. The kids sat down here.
Richard, how about you? Any memorable stories?
No, it was all routine, really. You had to watch that exit door in the summertime, especially if the air conditioner was off,
And it came in there.
because they'd like to sneak in there. And which before I worked here, I used to try the same thing, and Shirley did too.
Yeah, I did too.
It was a challenge, you know, to get in there without being caught. Didn't matter what was playing in the movies. It was just a challenge to get in.
When we talk about the silent film era, particularly in Talbot County, the one film that everybody always likes to talk about because it was filmed locally is The First Kiss.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
Do you know if you actually saw it? It supposedly premiered
Oh,
in this
yeah.
theater.
And I'd sit on the top row up there. And they were here. Gary Cooper and Fay Ray and all the stars were here
For that premiere.
for the showing of it. And
So you got to mix it up with the stars?
no, not Jerry. But we were out on a boat when they were filming down in St. Michael's. It was filmed in one of the houses right there by the Crab Claw,
Right.
where the offices are. And then this was supposed to be their wedding out on a boat. We were on another boat all day long. And the section that was in the movie was about 3 seconds.
But you took special note of that. You
Of
recognized
course.
that scene.
We all had to wave at certain times.
And what did you think of the movie when it came out?
Oh, I loved it. I have all the pictures that were all in the movie, in the newspapers about it. That, you know, I tore them out of the newspapers.
Do you still have them?
Yes, someplace I do. Yeah.
We'd love you to share them with us. We can insert them in
Okay.
in the video.
Yeah, I do have right many of them. Then there was a court case, and Eileen Blaine's father was a judge, and a lot of local people were seated in the courthouse. So,
This was the courtroom scene in the movie.
in the movie, yes.
It was actually shot in the Circuit Court of Talbot County.
And I remember Eileen Blaine's father was a judge. I think he was, but he was the character in there. The judge.
There's
of
a
the case.
photograph of that in Bo Ernst's office somewhere. He's looking for it, so maybe we can take that up. Did you see the characters that played in that movie in the actual movie itself?
Yeah. Mhm.
You did?
Yes, they were here on stage when.
I was told that they reshot the court scene back in Hollywood and
I-
left the court scene out, and people in
don't know.
Talbot County were furious.
I vaguely remember a court scene in the movie. Because, you know, I said, oh, there's Mr. Blaine, and there's so-and-so, and there's so-and-so. Because I seem to have known everybody in Easton. I got around.
It's the nature of a small town, isn't it?
Yes. You kind of know everybody. And good thing I've moved back here. I don't know anybody. I've outlived them all. So.
We're going to take a short break, and we'll be right back.
The 19th annual Chesapeake Home Garden and Craft Expo will be held at the Talbot County Community Center in Easton, Saturday, April 5th and Sunday, April 6th. The Expo has the latest in home products, art, and ideas for decorating your home. Sample gourmet food while you stroll through the show. There'll be quality crafts in a variety of media and wine tasting venue. A great time for the entire family. Admission is $6 per carload or $4 per person. The 2014 Chesapeake Home Garden and Craft Expo is Saturday from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. and Sunday from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. at the Talbot County Community Center in Easton. For details about the Expo, look in the Star Democrat or go to ChesapeakeHomeExpo.com.
Tandem Antiques. Customers are surprised by the size of our antique center, our range of quality antiques, parking, and access to the building, and how the room settings are individually displayed to allow customers to visualize pieces in their homes. We offer educational events with knowledgeable speakers to promote interest in antiques to our younger generations, collectors, and antique dealers. We offer an opportunity for new and established customers to become caretakers of a piece of history, which is as green as it gets. Tandem Antiques and Fine Arts Center, located on Route 50, Easton, Maryland.